So this week on the Any Given Runday podcast, we have a running coach, an ultra runner who's also done Ironmans and is responsible for all those orange t-shirts you see running around Dublin, as he is the founder of Cherry Orchard Running Club. Ken O'Driscoll, welcome to this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. How are you getting on?
Cheers, lads. Yes, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Just had to survive in the storm, so we're good.
I'm grateful for them orange t-shirts because Seán can't see a thing. But the only thing he ever sees is orange t-shirts leading him around the Phoenix Park every single time.
Right.
Or lapping me over and over and over again at Dundee 50k. You had a couple of boys doing it last year, and just every 20 odd minutes or so, there goes your Cherry Orchard lads again.
Yeah, there's a couple of the boys done that all right.
But obviously, Ken, orange t-shirts, we're seeing a lot. We see at every event. We see on the side of the roads at Dublin Marathon, great support. But it's the end of a product of time and effort and a lot of things. And you're very much behind a lot of that. But for you, where did running start and how did you get so involved in sport and get such good accolades like that?
For me, it was sport was like a therapist for me. I went through a bit of a dark place, a dark time, should I say, with addiction when I was very young. And when I decided to get my shit together, which was when my daughter was born, I took up running. And for me, it was the most amazing thing that had ever happened to me, because to be fair, I was a broken man, felt like I didn't want to go on anymore. And every run I did just made me feel that little bit stronger, a little bit more confident, and basically got me through recovery. And for me, it's life-saving, and that's what I try to install in people as well. Whenever someone comes near me, sit around me for long enough and you'll become a runner, because for me, it's the biggest part of my life now at the minute. I work at running, I'm coaching running, anytime I get spare time, I'm running now. But so basically it was true, just going through a dark time and needed an outlet to release and something to give me probably an endorphin hit as well, as they say.
What brought you to running? I suppose a lot of people kind of fall into it. Yours was to try and find a replacement for addiction, which is hard to do. Usually it's replaced by something else, another addiction, and running probably became that. But what was it that triggered you for running? Because obviously we're going back to a time, it's not as popular as it is now for people who are looking for a different, now we've football, we've GAA, we've everything else high profile. What was the initial step for you to get in and say, look, I'm going to just run 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, or what was it that drew you to running?
Believe it or not, there was a guy on my man's road, Paddy. Now I still see him in the gym. Paddy must be 70 years of age now. But I used to be leaving the house, and we'd probably on a Saturday, we'd be going to town, and you'd see him leaving his gaff with his running gear on. And I always remember then, we'd be in town pulling into the bus, and he'd be doing his U-turn heading back towards Ballyfermot. So he was a big inspiration to me. And I always remember thinking as a kid, looking at Paddy going, fucking hell, he's at the jogging from Ballyfermot into the city centre and back. And that used to just blow my mind. And I think that was where I first kind of, I was introduced to running as such. And then, like I said, going through the struggles and then starting to try it out on my own in the fields, I just got the runner's high. And then from there, I remember seeing on the TV in the gym, I was actually walking on a treadmill doing a warm-up before I went, because I'd done weights and I used to train a lot. And anyway, and seeing the Dublin City Marathon on TV. And I'm looking at them all going, fucking, I'm looking at the clock and it's saying 3 hours 50, 4 hours, so-and-so, whatever. And I'm thinking, how the fuck can someone run for 4 hours without stopping? I could barely do the 15 minutes on the treadmill at the time. And it was like an accumulation of a few different things, that came together. And like I said, I think it was the runner's high and just the sense of freedom that I got from it, as well.
Taking on your first marathon from coming from a dark place, and we know it's advertised everywhere, and it's we have Movember, we have everything, young males in that age bracket between 18 and 32, thereabouts, suffering with negativity in on themselves, depression in some cases. For you, coming from addiction into sport, into running, what was training for that first marathon like? What was the feeling of, because I know myself, when I get through 7K, the silence settles in, the brain telling me to stop, and then I'm able to solve some problems until about 18K, and then I just want to go home. But there is that element of therapy, as you said. For me, I find it in particular. But what was your journey like from that 15 minutes up to that first marathon?
Yeah, see, at the time, I was living on my own as well. I was living in my mom's house, and for me, it was like it was a hobby, obviously. But the challenge, I think, of wanting to put my body just to see if it was possible for me, you know what I mean? Because obviously it was possible. Everyone on the TV was doing it, but for me, it was a personal challenge. You know, from being so like unfit where I was at, and then just the journey for it was I loved it. I loved the struggle, and sometimes like I know people say it's like the therapy side of it, but it's getting through the struggle of it, I suppose. And then every time I hit that milestone of like 15K, oh shit, man, I'm nearly a half marathon here. Then hitting that half marathon and boy, let's go. And so for me, it was just like I just loved the challenge of it, going out on the morning, feeling like shit, probably starting off, but then getting into me flow. And for me, it was like it was high. Once I hit 7 to 10K, as I started getting that runner's high and got into a flow, and it was just, yeah, I loved the struggle of it. I loved it.
That was your first marathon back in 2008?
2008, yeah.
Once you crossed that finish line, what was the thought process? I need to do another one. I need to go more. I need to go faster. How did you feel when you got through it?
It's a mad one, because this is where like a lot of people ask me, how did I come up with the club and how did they start and everything else, and like I always remember I done it on my own. Not many people in my area were running at the time, and I always remember my family were in town, and it was that like the hairs in the back of my neck standing, knowing that I was nearly at the finish. And then I never forget, I turned the corner onto the blue carpet, and I used to go a different route, obviously, back then. But I remember turning onto that blue carpet, and I just got very emotional now, because like I used to look up to my dad for a lot of guidance. My dad passed away when I was young. And I remember running saying, thank you, Father, for getting me through this. And then secondly, the next thought was like, why aren't more people in Ballyfermot and Cherry Orchard doing this? Like, if it gets me from where I was at to running a marathon, to feeling the way I felt, was phenomenal for me. Like, and it was the best high I'd ever had in my life. And that's exactly what I thought. Was looking up to the sky, thanking my dad, saying, why? And then the thought was, why are not more people running? And that's where I just got that fire for the Cherry Orchard Running Club and bringing it to people in my area. It was definitely the first marathon when I crossed that line. But after it, I don't know, I can't remember if I booked another one fairly soon after. I know I done loads. Like, I think I did do it for about 10 years straight then, Dublin after it. And because Dublin was kind of my favourite, I didn't venture out to many Europeans there for a few years after that.
But it tends to be the case for most people, because the atmosphere on your doorstep, it is on your doorstep. You're probably running through parts of the streets you grew up in as you head up through Ballyfermot, places that are familiar to you, people that are familiar to. It's hard to go get that atmosphere somewhere else where nobody knows you, but it can happen, and there are friendly marathons all over, and it's getting more and more popular, and people are getting more involved. But I suppose at that time, I suppose now with the lottery system, it's even harder to walk away from Dublin.
It's harder to get in. Yeah, I just loved it. I actually, I've travelled around the world doing marathons, like, and really Dublin stands out as like, especially for the support and the crowd. Yeah, it was one of the ones that got me.
Before setting up Cherry Orchard, back in 2008, I don't know if I was still playing football. Eric, you're definitely still playing football. Like, I don't know what the running scene or running community and stuff were like back there, but in my mind, if I think back to it, it was, if you joined a running club, I would have confused it with an athletics club, as in like you're going to be a mad sprinter, or you must be running and nothing else. You must be elite. You must like live it, and that you're really, really good at it. Whereas now there's running clubs popping up everywhere, and that's a good thing, by the way. Back in 2008, when you did that, I know it took another 5 years before Cherry Orchard Running Club got set up. Was it like that back then? And was it something you could go, I could get people just to build towards a 5K in a running club, or have I got this all wrong?
Yeah, no, I don't think it was. It wasn't as popular. Definitely not as popular, I don't think. And wasn't. Yeah, it was kind of low, like, especially from where I'm from. I never knew of any running clubs, especially from deprived areas and from where we were from and stuff. So for me, it was just like, it was about the challenge of hitting these distances and getting out and doing it. But I definitely don't think I hadn't got that. Obviously, it's phenomenal now, the numbers, but I don't think I had that attraction to it as it did, like back then. I don't think people probably just didn't like that. The struggles of running, like, it's one of those sports you either love or I hate it.
We had got the Garments telling us what to do back then, or the Stravas to get the kudos for the run. So no point in doing it. I'm going to kudos. I hadn't got a Facebook set up back then, let alone all these kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I used to use my phone to track some of the runs at the time. I don't even know if I had a watch, to be fair.
And it is very much a case of you were the head case. Let's just say it as it is. People who were
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
marathons in 2008 were, what is wrong with you? Why would you run that far? People have no
yeah.
concept of what that is, especially when you run that distance. They just know they wouldn't do it. But for a lot of cases in sport, seeing is definitely believing. So you're doing 10 marathons back to back in your area. You become known as that man who's doing back to back
Mm.
marathons and over a couple of weeks. Do you think, and obviously you're very modest, it had an influence the more people started to see you out running, the same as Paddy was the influence for you running into town and turning around?
Mm.
Do you reckon it's people like yourselves who were consistent in that running and just spreading the word? Like anyone who sat down beside you to chat was obviously going to talk about running, and do you reckon that had a positive influence in that seeing is believing, and people could look at you and say, do you know what, I'll have a piece of that?
Without a doubt it has, because I always remember the first couple of, I think I started a Facebook with Cherry Orchard Running Club as the name. And I always remember whenever someone was out with me, I used to tag them. And that person would definitely be coming back out with me next week, knowing that. Now, maybe it was a ego thing showing off, but for me, it was, I'm going to tag everyone out because I wanted to build this group, you know what I mean? So definitely the more I was running, and even in the later years when I was doing the ultras and stuff, which we probably chat about, I always remember doing it knowing that there was people watching me. And I sometimes used to ask myself, why am I doing this? And I'd say, am I doing it to show off? Am I doing it for Facebook likes or whatever? But there was obviously, I'd done it for years before we had Facebook and all that. But for me, it was always about inspiring others. I used to always have that in my head, that if I can get through this race, I know there's someone in the club or there's someone that's running with me or beside me that will want to try do that again, you know, and that's, for me, it was definitely a big part. And it was a big part in the club being as big as it is now, was people being seen on social media, wanting to be out there with us. And on top of that as well, I was shouting from the rooftops of what it was bringing to my life, you know, and every post I done, I was there. People used to know me as the, like I would say, yup, Cherry Orchard. And I'd be running down the road with my camera in my hands, you know, and that high used to come out within the video. And people would say, what the fuck is he on? I want a bit of that, you know. And I firmly believe that's why we got the momentum we did in Cherry Orchard, and people wanted to just be out with us as well.
It's class now. You have the, like, you just had a post, not only the amount of people running Cherry Orchard, I saw like beside Tala de Lewis line, the Lodi is running doing the warm up, but there's also another post of the amount of people getting involved volunteering and stuff last year for Dublin Marathon. Most events I go to, there's definitely Cherry Orchard, those orange t-shirts. When you started, there was only 3 members. Do you remember a turning, not a turning point, but as it got bigger, is there an early race that you're like, oh, we've got something big in our hands here that turned into what it is now, like a big community race that a lot of people got involved? Was it the first event? Did it get a slow build? How did that work?
I can't think of any off the top of my head, to be fair, but I think
Just snowballed.
yeah, kind of just built. But the big one was when Family Base is a local charity group who work with kids from the creches all the way up through to adult, you know what I mean, helping them out in the community. And it was Fiona Kearney. She was like the CEO now of the company, and I work for them now, by the way. And so it's like the running club. I'm the community coach in Cherry Orchard, but she had came to me one time and she goes, "Ken, I think you have something really good and positive here for the area." And basically, I've made running cool. Is the exact word she used, and I was chuffed with that. You know what I mean? So she and then they had came to me with the suggestion that we start the juveniles. You know, because they were so involved with the kids in the area, they wanted to bring the juvenile section into it. And that was when I kind of, that's really the point when I thought, I said to myself, geez, we have something here. Like, you know, if there's local groups recognising what we're doing and they want us to provide juvenile training. And already the seniors were probably numbered around 20, 30 seniors at the time. So when the juveniles came aboard, it was like, this is looking like it's coming together as a legit club as such, you know?
Yeah, and one of the scariest things about running clubs are when people hear you've done an Ironman, when people hear you've done a marathon, and then you're saying, do you want to come for a run with me? I'm going out on Saturday. And they're like, I'm not running with you.
That's
How,
mad.
how do you? Because even you'll take in a new person this January.
Yeah.
They'll go 10 weeks in a row with you. They'll be confident in running. They then become that friend that nobody wants to run with. How do you combat that? We still hear it week in, week out. How, as a new club with new members, do you encourage people to just show up and improve and find a pace that suits them?
Yeah, it's a weird one that you say that. We only started our beginners program. We do 3 of them a year, and we started one on Tuesday night gone. And the ruling is when we're doing a president, we do like an introduction night where they all come in, they're at the signing up, and we have a little chat. We explain to them about the 10-week program. And the one thing we do say is not to mention is a marathon, because these are only people that are going. It's a couch to 5K program, and lo and behold, fucking Kenna here decides to tell them about one of the nuns that run with us. She's running a Belfast marathon, and I could see all the other club or the committee members looking at me going, "What are you doing?" But for me, it's the underdogs for me are the important people in the club. The beginners, when they walk up to our club, and we've no clubhouse or that, we're still like we've 170 members, we're 100 kids that we don't charge any fees. So, but we still be at the side of a park, just on a footpath, all the cars parked up around, and we gather there. As soon as I see a new face or someone that hasn't been out in a while, they're my best friend. They're number one to me, and they're the ones I want to kind of chaperone, nurture, make sure that they don't feel intimidated. And the beautiful thing about the club is we have people running from all paces. You know what I mean? Like 7-minute pace, 6-minute pace, and there's always someone there that they link in with. So for me, it's kind of recognizing who's probably a little bit nervous coming into the club, or who's probably nervous about distance and all. I'll put them in with someone that I know is going to look after them, basically. So yeah, there is a bit of that intimidation about running with groups and all, but we try and make them fit in as best we can, you know.
It's one of them things when joining a group, the scariest part is the first night, and you'll be a little bit quiet. The less scarier night is the second night, but come the third night, you end up meeting people with similar interests. You end up meeting people like-minded, probably out for the same reasons you're out. And with running clubs, I think that's why there is such a growth in running, or maybe you've seen it over the years. People are beginning to find their own level with sport and running in particular, because it's for the most part accessible to everyone, and making great friends like you have, and a big network of people running all over Ireland.
Yeah, I say it to even the groups when I have them out as beginners. I'm going to say, look around you. There's 30 or 40 people here. We're all starting on the journey from couch to 5K, and I can guarantee you there's going to be groups of friends here who will be friends for life. You know, and it has happened in our club. Like there's groups of people from different parts of Dublin, and they're the best friends now. They're going on holidays together. You know, so there's definitely a lot to be said around the social aspect of running. Not only is it good for your body and your mind, you know, like you can make friends through it, like, and friends for life, like I said. And I love that, because for me it's a beautiful thing when you see a few people standing there all nervous at the start of a program, 4 or 5 weeks in, they're chatting to somebody. And then a year later, they're running the Dublin City Marathon, going on holidays with their families together, and that's the power in it, you know.
And that's when a club becomes community and tied in, and I suppose it runs itself. You're obviously very much still involved, but if you walked away tomorrow, the community still has each other, and that's when they look after each other, for want of a better word. You don't have to keep checking in; they're checking in on each other, and it's great when you get that buy-in from a group of people, and especially in an area, it's fantastic.
Yeah, like our committee and volunteers are amazing. Like I thought, if I start naming them all, like, but the group that we have, like the Nicola, Clive, there's Lynn. I'm gonna forget someone eventually.
You're gonna
Mary,
forget them, and then they're gonna leave
Sarah,
the club.
they're
Leave
gonna
it
be
out.
killing me. Graham, who else am I forgetting? Nicola, Siobhan. Like there's so many. There's 2 Siobhans, by the way. But that group, our committee group, they keep me in check. They're like I'm there on the ground all the time, the different groups, but there's nothing to be done there on the phone to me. Ken, did you make sure you do this? Are you checked in there? Have we got this? So without them, we wouldn't have Cherry Orchard Running Club, and and the community as well. They're very supportive of us as well within the community. So the Dublin City Council, they'd help us out with the halls. If there's any events on, the guards help us. So like for us, and Cherry Orchard's not getting a bad rap a lot of the time, you know, through the years. And for us, when we have a race day on, that sense of community and that coming together of the guards, probably lads who used to be getting into trouble, the runners, the volunteers. It's such a great event, and we have our annual race every year. That's one of the highlights of the year as well.
That's class. The one thing about you guys is obviously community and stuff there, and obviously for you guys, you're gonna get great support in Cherry Orchard. Dublin marathons on your doorstep. But one of the things we've heard, we heard it last year with Seán, me in the podcast, and I've heard off the podcast as well, is that a lot of you go down to Kerry for the Kerry Way Ultra. How did that get started? Have you ran it yourself? And how did that get going that a lot of you go down and like, you clearly ran it. Hey, so tell everyone what's going on there.
Oh, that's yeah. I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. To be fair, I decided to sign up. I got into ultra running once I got the marathons behind me. I started doing a few. The friend of mine, Noel Ward, he's an ultra runner as well. He introduced me to it, and I started doing a couple of 50Ks with him. Then we ended up doing a couple of hundreds. But my first ever official race was the Kerry Way Ultra 200K. So that, like, it was an experience to say the least. But do you know what? I was at the going through the training, and it happened during the lockdown. So we got a good bit of training done. Then we were told it was cancelled because of COVID. And then I think we're 6 weeks before the date, they decided to open it back up and say, "Oh yeah, we're back on track." And I was just had to just stop training.
Oh, wow.
So like it was like a plain shock to the system, and I thought, right, what'll I do here? Will I go with it? They said you can revert, you can put it back for a year if you wanted. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to go out. I was at the getting into the distance. It's like about 100, 120K, and was the biggest I'd ran. No, sorry, 100 was the biggest I'd ran, but I was doing about 120 a week in my training. And I went out then a couple of weeks before, and I just said, right, I bet I have to get another one. So I think I'd done an 80, a 60, and then I went down to Kerry. And yeah, it was an eye opener, to say the least. I was told umpteen times that that very few people completed on the first go. So that was my mission, you know what I mean, and it was just to finish. So standing at the start line, I had a little bit of a slight injury as well, a lower tear in my lower abs as well, which was irritating me a little bit. But by the end of it, that was fuck, to say the least, you know what I mean? Yeah, but I loved it. It was an amazing experience. I remember doing it and getting to certain points in the race. And another thing, a shout out to the crew as well. Seán, me, and knows all the lads like Wacker and Barry and Joe. The crew that the lads put on down there, second to none. And it was the same for me. I had a good group of lads down there crewing for me. And I always remember thinking, get to that 100K mark. If we can get to the 100K, we see where we're at. We'll move forward on that. So I remember getting to the 100K, and I was tired getting there. But when I had me check in with the lads, I got me fuel on board. I remember running out on a high after 100 kilometers, and I knew then that I was going to finish. Don't know what's like. I didn't say, when I say finish, I wasn't confident I was going to skip across the finish line, but I just knew that I wanted to finish it, and my goal was to finish it on my first goal. So I did. I walked for about 8 hours, though. Don't get me wrong.
But 200K
is 200K.
Yeah.
I was buzzing,
still
man.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was buzzing, and again, like I said to you earlier, it was kind of in the back of my mind thinking, right, if we can get through this, some people will be inspired, and like I said, like Seán and all the boys, they're all down there doing it now. Hopefully, because of them seeing me doing it back in the day.
Were you shitting it at the start line? Did it scare you enough to go, this is big? You know, because a lot of the times people, we've interviewed people, they never, like, they just show up and they're like, I'm just out for the day. But like, I've studied, the Ironman was one for me that I was like, this could go anyway today. This is a long day. Did that race scare you a little bit enough to be like, did you get more out of the runner's high from finishing that than you did out of a marathon? Or what way does that tee up for all the great things you've done, or where does it rank?
Yeah, I would have been nervous, but for me, it's like, look, I don't mind failing. Failing is part of life, and for me, it's about. I always remember hearing that saying, like, it's best to aim high and miss than to aim low and hit. You know what I mean? So for me, it was like I set the bar high, and I just said, you know what? I've done 100K. Let's try get to the 100K mark. I didn't want to put too much emphasis on the finish line when I was at the start line, if that makes sense. I just said to myself, I'm going to go halfway. If we can get to the halfway mark. And as well as that, I break races down. For me, I always break races down into smaller chunks. So for me, it was, I think it was 25K chunks. So if I'm not mistaken, is that 8 of them? Do the maths. Anyone good?
Yeah.
So I had it broke down into eight sections. And for me, it was like 25K. get me stuff. And then and always in my mind was get to the halfway mark. When I got there, then I broke down. But no, I wouldn't say I was scared of it, but I knew it was big. And I knew if I get through this, that the knock-on effect it'd have for inspiring people in the club. And since then, like, those girls in the club started ultra running. There was people popping up from everywhere in the club. Oh, we want to try it. So, yeah, a lot of it was just get out and get it done. And the sense of achievement, the finish would be an amazing achievement. And I did it, thank God. So, yeah, I think the Ironman probably scared me more than the actual 200k run.
I was going to follow up with that when you were in Dunleary, but a couple years before that in 2018 for the
That's right.
Ironman. Going through that process, was that scary because that was the first, as opposed to that and the Kerryway Ultra, that the Ironman came first, that scared you? Or is that just different animal altogether with the water and everything else that comes with it? Because you're a sea swimmer.
Yeah, I do a lot of sea swimming. I haven't been doing much distance lately, but I do love it. I will be back in the water soon enough. I think the full Ironman in Cork was the one that scared me most. The one in Dublin, I think there was a great group of lads out of the club. We all came together and there was a good momentum behind it. And the fact that we were up the mountains nearly every Saturday or Sunday, we'd be up on them hills. We knew Dublin wasn't going to be a big issue for us. Dublin was probably one of the best Ironmans as well. It's an awful shame that it was cancelled, you know. I don't know why. I think it was over the residents and the road closures. But no, I think it definitely Cork, the full Ironman, was what scared the hell out of me. And not only did this, like the water, obviously, I'd be a good swimmer, but you know yourself, swimming is kind of one of those sports that you're still scared when you're out in the middle of the ocean, you know what I mean? And you're going along.
Them sea monsters will get you, Ken. That's all I think.
So yeah, it was just daunting then, the scale of it, I suppose, the full.
What year was that, Ken? You did the
full?
It
was,
because there was a mad heat wave and stuff, was one of the years.
One I don't know, some of my medals still be hanging around. I done that many events that I lose track of all my dates, you know what I mean? It was about 4 years ago. It was before, obviously, there was a storm that day and the swim got cancelled.
Right.
Now, 2019-ish, I think, just
that's
before
the
COVID.
one. Yeah. And then the year, obviously, there was a tragedy. It was in the last year, the year before. But to be fair, when I looked into the fucking water that day, we were all in our wet gear, in the wetsuits and all ready to go. And I looked at the water and I was thinking, the fucking jet skis are having trouble out there. Like, you know what I mean? How are we gonna get it? So when they said it was cancelled, everyone else was going, fuck no, we're all going mad. And I was sitting there going, fucking delighted the swim's cancelled. So
absolutely.
We still had to do the cycle and the run, you know, but for me it was just, okay, get this fucking thing done. It consumed my life. Sorry for the language as well, boys. I keep cursing.
No, you're good.
It has a little asterisk with the podcast, so we're covered.
But yeah, we got through it, and for me, it was kind of get this done. I trained so hard, and it was consuming. Like a full Ironman takes, I don't know how many hours a week we were training, but it was like I was just eating, training, sleeping.
It's a huge commitment, and that's why when we've triathletes on, and a lot of them will say it's a lifestyle. You commit to a lifestyle, and that's it. The social element is your training, and that's why it's great to be part of clubs, because your social element is in the pool, it's on the swim, it's in the, you know, and that's it. There's no okay, you can go to the weddings and stuff, but usually you're like, I better take a handy because tomorrow I need to get out twice or else I'm falling behind on the plan. It's like the only way I can describe it, it's just like there's never ending pressure until the race day. And you can't escape it because it's coming. It's bizarre.
If you don't have like discipline, like 100% discipline, I remember that alarm going off 4 a.m. Oh man, you know, but you knew, like you said there, you knew the event was coming. You knew you had to do the training, and it is part of a lifestyle, definitely, because I know lads who are consumed in it and it's all they do. Where with me, it was kind of loads of other bits going on as well. So when I knew once I got that full one done, I don't think I was going to be signing up for another full one. You know? Yeah, but I've done a good few halves in between, which I love. I love the half distance. It's you can be ready for that all year long, especially as a coach, because I'm training as well as walking. You know, so it's a lot easier for me to be ready for a 70.3.
With all that training, you talk about being ready if a half Ironman came up. Obviously, that means you're ready if a half marathon or a full marathon comes up. Back in start of November, you got a 2-week notice that for a ticket for High Rocks. And you did
That's
that
right.
without much training. How does for someone like Eric has done the Ironman marathon, but he hasn't done high rocks. I haven't done Ironman. You've done all three. How did the high rocks and the event and all compare to something like an Ironman and a marathon for you?
Right, for me, I don't know if I was cocky or whether I just overconfident, because I got the entry. I won it through a competition on Facebook. I seen. I said, "Geez, Dublin would be a nice one because of the obviously the Dublin City Marathons and everything else." And I said, "I'd love to get an entry for Dublin." So ended up getting it. Lo and behold, my training was going okay. I was still doing bits of running, doing a lot of weight training and stuff. So I decided then, with the 2 weeks notice, I was going to simulate it in the gym. So I tried my best. I set everything up. The gym I go to, the Coliseum as well. It's a cracking gym. So I went in, set everything up, and I said, okay, I'm going to give this a go. So the rower is there, skier, treadmill, so on. Gets everything ready, starts doing the simulation. Now, so I done it in about an hour and 20 minutes. And then it was only when I left then, I looked up the rules and the exercise and all. I missed out on loads. There was still like the throw ball. So for me, I walked out of the gym thinking, not too bad. You know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. So it was only when I found out, no, you missed out on the farmer's walk. Now, I used to train doing the farmer's carry as well. But basically, I had missed out on 2 or 3 exercises within the simulation. The size then, right, I better start trying to, that nearly killed me, the simulation on its own. And then, so I had to try and recover then with about 10 days to go. And I always remember saying 5 days before the high rocks, and my legs were still tender, from the simulation. And so let's just say it was a big eye opener for me. I walked into the High Rocks Arena in the RDS, and I'm smiling, I'm coffee in my hand, I'm buzzing there, chatting to everyone, and I'm looking around, and there's these lads, and they're all going,
shredded wee.
Yeah, but they're all, but it's like as if they were getting ready for a world title fight, right? And I'm thinking, it's a big, you know what I mean? I thought they were going on a bit too much about it. So gets into the start line, takes off. I was about 3 exercises in, 3-kilometer loops, then the 3 exercises, and I thought, what the fuck am I have to get myself into?
Right before the burpees, brilliant.
Oh man, it was like, I have to try survive this. I can't be seen to fail. Like I hate failing. Obviously, it's part of the game, but for me, it was just right. Hold on tight, and I got through it. I ended up doing 2 laps, an extra 2 laps and all, because I was that fatigued. I wasn't even able to look at the clock. Got through it. I think it was an hour and 35 or 36, something like that, which was okay for a first timer.
Absolutely.
But by God, I've so much respect for the lads now that do it, because that was an eye opener for me. For someone who thought, I obviously underestimated the endurance behind it, but it's savage event. Loved every minute of it. But yeah, it was an eye opener.
Was there an understanding then when you see them all going for the hour and their t-shirts off and they look like something Michelangelo's after sculpting? Does it all make sense in the combination between endurance and strength?
Without a doubt. That's it. CrossFitters, military, like Navy SEALs, they were, boy. They're like, they're a different gravy, and that, like I said, I underestimated it big time, and I will do another one. I was hoping, I think there was talk of me and Pete Taylor doing a doubles in, I'm not sure, I think it's Madrid or something like that, but he hasn't come back to me about it. But because the 2 of us are over 50 now, we're thinking of going into the over 50 group. So you never know. I'll do the doubles next time. I'm not going near them singles again. They're too hard.
I've heard there's a huge difference between doubles and singles. And doubles, because you're sharing that pain with someone, obviously sharing the exercises, it seems to be a lot more enjoyable than doing a singles event. But sounds like you're a little bit hooked there, Ken.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's at the give me an appetite for them, all right. But definitely, like I'd love to put in a 6-month block of training before I do. If we did the singles again, they'd definitely be focused on that. It'd be similar to the Ironman and stuff. You gotta, you know what I mean, map out a few months training. So that's what I would like to do if I was doing another one.
Do you find that hard to try and map everything in? Like Ironman's come up, the Dublin has a half marathon coming up now in March in the city, and it's getting very popular. Just all these different races are coming up, and different Ironmans. High Rocks is coming in. There's different events coming over. Picking and choosing, I'd say, it's pretty hard for someone like yourself who seems to be very competitive and jumping in and giving everything a go.
Yeah, no, it can be. It can be. I kind of wait for we do planning in January for the club, so I wait to see what way the club's plan is and what races, if we're doing, because we're going to Belfast this year and we're going to Ibiza as well. So I kind of have a little look at the yearly plan, see where there's gaps in it, and then I'll book something. But I've been injured for a while now as well. I'm having a little few issues. I don't know if it's old age or what the crack is, but I had to pull out of Alcudia last year, the 70.3. It was like a nerve damage in my back, but a shot nerve.
Jeez.
It came down my leg, which I lost a lot of power in my leg for weeks. So I haven't really booked much this year. Like the half marathon, obviously, in Ibiza, we have I think it's 12 kilometers, the half marathon in Dublin. A couple of other little things I've booked. I'm staying fit and strong, but since I'm trying to push my body lately, and I think it's definitely down to just my age and, pushing my body for so many years, it's starting to take its toll a little bit. So I just have to readjust what way I train. So I'm doing more weight training, yoga. I'm at to introducing twice a week, a lot more hill walking and stuff. So I'm kind of just wanting to strengthen the body before I decide to commit to another Ironman, right as we speak today. That's where I'm at.
Only because you mentioned it there, I saw in your post this week, a big birthday just passed. Since you mentioned it earlier in the podcast, what category you're now for High Rocks, I don't feel bad for mentioning a big day just went past. So happy birthday on that one.
Cheers, my man. Cheers. And it's funny because we were off for the Christmas. My birthday was on the 7th of January. The club was off for the Christmas, and then they missed giving me a cake and all, so they only gave me one the other night. And now, and then we have a party booked for the 14th for Valentine's night for me 50th. So people are going to think he's fucking milking this. But look, I'm 50 for the whole year, so you know what I mean.
Do they have to bring a card every time, or what's the rules?
I hope not, because I'm a ton of them there as it is. So, but anyway.
Well, look, Ken, how the journey started for you, and to bring it back kind of full circle in pushing the body and access to social media and access to seeing and believing and doing it all. The juvenile end of the community are running. Are you seeing a difference in them and the shift into sport, into gym? And are you seeing a difference in Cherry Orchard now because of the group, not just your group, but other groups and sports groups in keeping people sports focused and probably away from other habits and probably getting themselves into a bit of trouble? Or have you seen much of a difference, or what way is it looking now?
Yeah, so well, speaking from Cherry Orchard's perspective, it's a tough one. There's a lot of antisocial behaviour. You have a lot of distractions with phones and everything else, and kids are just sitting in the houses more. I suppose everywhere in the world is the same. But for us, we had a teenage group which we found it very hard because we found it very hard to keep them engaged because we'd no facilities. So we use the community centre now with our young juveniles, and believe it or not, I think I can share this news with you as well. We've just been told that the local area plan, there's massive builds going on just outside. It's called Cherry Orchard Point. And there's a big chunk of money being allocated to reinvent the park, the local park. And we've been told that there's a running track going to be part of their plans, and it's at the getting the go-ahead. So we're buzzing because of that. Because I think the lack of infrastructure and the lack of facilities, especially around running, like we have GAA clubs everywhere. We have like boxing and other things. But for us in Cherry Orchard, if we want to build on it, we have to. I said this at a meeting. It's hard for a young kid to stay motivated. You know what I mean? Especially through running, if they're not feeling like there's something going to come out of it. And I think for them to walk into a running track and to do their training on a running track, and for us to be there as coaches, encouraging them and everything else, that would be just like another level for us. Especially trying to nurture the young kids to stay with us going into teenage years. So I'm buzzing. That's just another level now. If everything goes well, we'll know within the next couple of weeks, and we'll have visuals of the plans and stuff like that. So
it is great, and I suppose, look, unfortunate. So if we compare to other countries around the world who put such emphasis on sport and facilities, but they reap the rewards when you look at Olympic teams. When you look at this, they've been swimming since they're 5. Every school has a pool. Every school has a running track.
Yeah.
It's you've built a club since 2008, and now we're looking at 2025, 2026. Finally, a running track. It's a long time for facilities to promote sport.
Yeah, like so many kids we missed. You know what I mean? Is what I'd be saying to them. Yeah, like we're still meeting at the side of a park every Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. For us, this is going to I feel it's going to bring something special to the area as well. Like there's going to be more kids, even ones that are not engaging with us now, that will want to do it when they see this track being done. And like I said, if a kid walks into it like the kids asked to go into a real professional boxing club, it'll inspire them, you know, or a GAA club. We're hoping to have that same effect now when the kid starts to that picks up running, that we can provide them with the track, with the training, and hopefully see a future Olympian from Cherry Orchard. Like, that was one of my dreams when I started off. I remember thinking, like, I had a vision. It's weird because nobody say, "Oh, did you ever have a vision of this?" I always remember having a vision of training with kids. But then I always remember thinking, imagine it was me standing there with one of them kids at the making it to the Olympics or something, you know, big, like, and that's.
And I suppose that's a testament to anyone who's looking to get involved in coaching or starting a club. It's one, it is always for your benefit because there's people watching you now. You have to keep training.
Yeah.
You know, all eyes are on. But also that it's a legacy thing that you can try and make something better for someone else. And that's why I think these run clubs are being so successful. And in fairness, Cherry Orchard, we know from seeing in such numbers on any races, and from your club has stemmed so many clubs. Kind of just copy paste, but still doing so good in their communities, and it works. The formula works. Whatever it is you've done, Ken, it's definitely had a massive influence. So looking at that, what immediate plans for the year for yourself? Obviously, trying to figure out a training regime that suits being 50, and the club just taking on the marathons, or what's the nearest plans that we can expect from the Cherry Orchard group?
Yeah, for the Cherry Orchard Running Club, well, we have Sister Liz. She's at the local nun. She's running her first marathon in Belfast. So for us, that's a big thing. And there's so many of the club are jumping on board to support her. I beat it is going to be another big one, you know, for us as well. Like, we've got so much happening. I'm trying to think about for us, the big one is going to be seeing these plans for the running track. And that's kind of a bit where we're all a bit, like, you know, apprehensive about that, like, you know, because it can fall apart fairly quickly. There's a lot of talk about these plans and these developers and the money here and the money there, but until the shovel is actually getting stuck in the muck, you know what I mean. So yeah, look, if anything to look forward to this year, obviously the club is growing every year and we love what we do as well. But for us, the running track and just a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Some just sort of peace of mind for the future, that the club is not going to be like in another 20 years' time, that we're not going to be still standing around the corner, because, you know, it's a lot of these things, like, you need to be giving them what they need to grow, you know.
And gives it a home. It gives that sport a home and that platform for the future. So, and who knows what that will bring. And in terms of, obviously, you're very involved with the club, coached by Ken. You have the jumper on.
Yeah.
It's not as nice as an Any Given Runday t-shirt. We'll have to give you one of them.
Yeah, but, you must send one over to me then, lads.
We stayed away from the orange, Ken. I think you've trademarked that.
Oh, definitely. Don't go near that now. They will.
What is coached by Ken, and what does it mean for someone listening here?
Basically, it's me as an online coach. It's my private work that I do outside the club. I do a fitness retreat where I go away. Joe Doyle, he's an entrepreneur guy, and he gets me to go away. We're on a business retreat with him, and that's where it kind of stemmed as well. I wanted to start getting into online training, so I use an app called EverFit, basically providing you with your nutrition plans, your training plans, and once a week check in. And yeah, Coach by Ken is just me wanting to try to make a few bob as well, you know, just going forward, starting to, because for me, the club was never about money. It was always about passion. And now I'm at a stage where I have a good following on Instagram. People know me for doing all these events, and I'm in fairly good shape, I think, for my age. So I'm trying to just leverage that, you know. And I know I'm probably, like, for me, I know I've been through so much that I'm probably, I do class myself as probably one of the best coaches in Ireland. And for me, beginners are always the ones that I target. But I've been through all the stuff around getting into the best shape of your life, the struggles of people over 40 have getting into shape. And so for me, it's about just providing that to others. And that's what Coach Ken's all about. Yeah, just being a good coach and helping people change their lives.
We've obviously turned the year, and this is the part of the year where people have either failed the plan that lasted 2 days, and that's it. 2026 is going to be our year. But what advice do you have for people, seeing what you see with the people you train, and having the two hats on from a club level and then obviously your own PT level? What advice do you have for people taking on the year from your experience?
Be patient. Just be patient, because even me as a coach and me that trains all year round, like I want it tomorrow, you know, and that's the way my head is telling me, come on, I have to get into shape tomorrow. I have to. But it just, if you trust in the process of a program, so nothing happens too quickly. So 12 weeks, wherever the programs are, I'd say to people, just put a plan in place for 3 days a week, 30 minutes each of them days, which is an hour and a half a day, and just stick with that for the first couple of weeks. Don't try go all in. I've seen too many people, like even recently, lads signing up. I do a 6 or a 3 month plan, and they've signed up with me 2 weeks into the plan, and they're going hell for leather and they're getting injured. So it's about just be patient. Do tiny little small things that you know you can do that are easy to do, and just repeat them over and over again and make them become like micro habits they talk about. You hear people talking about all the time, and that's what it is about. Don't look at 5K. Maybe do 1K 3 days a week. You know what I mean? Don't look at a 45-minute HIIT class. Look at 10 minutes in the gym, moving your body, and try to do that 3 days a week. And after a couple of weeks of that, it just becomes your habit, and then you can add on to it. So yeah, just be patient and get a plan together, because if you're not working off a plan, you're kind of just doing it for the sake of getting to the gym. Where if you have a plan and say, no, my plan is to get there Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and nothing else is going to come in the way of that. And if something does come in the way, I need to be able to fit it in somewhere else. So definitely just be patient and trust in the process of any program that you're signing up for.
And if someone wants you to do that plan and wants coaching by you, Ken, where do they go? Is your Instagram DM, or do you have a website, or what is it?
Yeah, I've coached by Ken on Instagram. Give me a shout. I'm Kenneth O'Driscoll on Facebook, and I have a YouTube channel as well. If you want to check out all my big challenges I've done, the 100K, the 200K. That, I think the tag is Coach by Ken on that as well. So, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
Or give you a birthday card, one or the other.
Yeah.
But before we go, Ken, I'm always looking. I'm one of those impatient people that always looks at the next big thing, next big races. There's lots of things we didn't talk about. Like I know you've done Lanzarote, I think you've done a marathon, different half marathons. Talk about you do different things with the club. If someone's listening and they're looking for a different kind of race to go abroad, is there any one of those races you've done over the last couple of years where you're like, that needs to get more attention?
Does it have to be abroad?
Doesn't have to be abroad. No, there's something nearby. You gotta say Cherry Orchard.
No. The Cherry Orchard annual, yes, the Cherry Orchard annual event that's on every June.
Your committee would have gave out to you, didn't mention that one. But apart from Cherry Orchard and maybe apart from one abroad, what would you recommend?
I loved Gale Force West. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of it?
West, I've done the one out in Bray, Greystones to Bray, I'll keep from, but that's the only one I've done. I haven't done Gale Force West. Is that up the mountains?
It's in Mayo. No, it's Gale Force West. Yeah, Gale Force West. It's in Mayo. I've done it twice, and it's all. I haven't got time to go back because it keeps on clashing with dates that with other events. But it's basically a duathlon. I think it's where you run, kayak, and cycle. But you have to drop your bike and run up to Crowpatrick, the top of that, back down onto your bike again, and then back to the finish in Mayo in Westport. But I just love that event. I thought it was super, and I'd be so annoyed with, like that I can't get down to it. But look, it was a couple of years ago. I'd done it twice. Myself, Will Arway, and David Fitzsimons, the three of us done it a couple of times.
Those races, those adventure style races were really big, probably pre-COVID. And then I think when the turn of COVID happened, they've kind of lost that popularity, and running has really come up. They used to be, in my opinion, the participation events, because people reckoned they could cycle, they could walk up a hill, they could kayak, you know, and it got a lot of attention. But hopefully now, as again, people are looking at those adventure races and seeing what's around and getting involved with them. And lastly, again, you have touched on it, Cherry Orchard annual event. How do we get involved? How do we get an orange t-shirt, Ken? We'll do a swap.
You have to be a member. No, geez, the committee will kill me.
Get us killed here, Eric. What are you talking? What are you saying?
I'm gonna have to get into shape now before I have to take my top off so I can for the t-shirt swap. How do we get involved with the annual race?
Oh yeah, the annual race. We do a lot of promotion on the page. So Cherry Orchard Running Club D10. That's where most of our advertising will be, and I'll advertise it on my page as well. I think they picked the date in June again this year. We try and make that the biggest event we can, and it's a cracker. And we're hoping this year, we haven't talked to the guards yet, but to actually bring it out onto the main street now as well, because it's getting that popular. Everyone sees us around the area training constantly. So for me, it'd be a great one to have it going down the middle of Ballyfermot Main Road, and that's what we're hoping for. But we'll see if the guards will allow us.
What distance is this race, Ken? What can people expect?
It's a 5 and a 10K. Yeah, so we usually have a 5 and a 10K option, and there's people with buggies, the whole lot come, some people in wheelchairs as well. So yeah, it's a cracker.
Absolutely brilliant. Ken, thank you very much for being on the podcast this week. And that's it for this week's episode of the Any Given
Thanks
Runday
for having me,
podcast.
lads.
Cheers, Ken. That's it for myself, Ken, and Eric. Take care.
Cheers, guys.